20 years since the Loma Prieta quake shook San Francisco right in the middle of the World Series. I was there at the time. I remember it vividly. And there are now a series of recent quakes along the Ring of Fire that suggest California might want to take a close look at its own level of preparedness.
A cluster seems to have happened in the last year around the Pacific Plate. Statistically, there's a sort of beguiling possibility that now is the time when people should start thinking about what might happen if, one, the San Andreas fault were to rupture, which it hasn't for 105 years, or the Cascadia fault, which hasn't for 250 years.
250 years, they fear it is waiting to happen. Democratic Congresswoman Karen Bass represents California's 33rd district, which includes parts of Los Angeles County. She now joins us live from Washington. It's so nice to visit with you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
I want to get your sense of the state of California and its preparedness. I guess in the simplest of terms, is California prepared for a major earthquake?
Well, I do think that California is prepared. On an annual basis, we have what's called the Great Shakeout, where close to 8 million people participate in preparation. Now, having said that, we certainly have to study what's happened in Japan and see what we can do better. And in particular, I want to look at how we're dealing with elderly people who are disabled, and could we get them out in time.
And Representative Bass, as you know well, living in California, and as a Californian myself, I know all too well the challenges that exist, not just in terms of people with the great shakeout that you have, but also in terms of infrastructure. I mean, when we speak about California, the state has a major budget crisis right now. We'll put up some of these numbers on the screen as I read them along. The Legislative Analyst's Office projects a $19 billion operating deficit in the next fiscal year and a $22 billion deficit the year after that. So for a state that can barely pay its public employees, where is the money for earthquake preparedness? And are you going to go say to the president and to others at the Capitol, we need your help now?
Well, absolutely. It is a major concern of mine. And ironically, as California debates the budget this week, and I so hope that they're able to come to resolution, I certainly want to see if there's anything that we can do here on a federal level to be of help to California. But ironically, while we're debating the budget here, some cuts that were proposed by my colleagues on the other side of the aisle called for a 20% reduction in the National Weather Service. Now, ironically, that would include layoffs that could impact our preparation for a tsunami, which we know was impacted by what happened in Japan and Northern California and Southern California. So when we're talking about cuts, they have to be done with surgical precision, and we have to look for a way to bring resources to California.
So Representative Bass, let's put this in real specific terms right now. I'm literally heading back to the San Francisco Bay Area tomorrow, and when I get there, going from the East Bay to San Francisco, you'll still travel across the old Bay Bridge. The new bridge isn't yet completed that's supposed to be better prepared to handle an earthquake. So where are the specific places that we are most vulnerable in California right now?
Well, certainly you pointed out the bridges. We do have to take a look at our nuclear facilities, the plants, both San Onofre and Diablo Canyon. We know that licensing is going to come up for both plants pretty soon, so I think it gives us an opportunity to examine to see how safe they are. But I think your main point is our infrastructure, our roads, and that's what we have to be concerned about, as well as our emergency services.
The big luxury in Japan, if there was one, was the simple fact that they'd invested about $1 billion by some accounts into early warning technology. And because of that, they may have had, albeit just 30 seconds, some warning about this quake and ultimately about the tsunami. So I guess the question is there money and is there ultimately the political will to push through a early warning system here in the United States that matches the one that likely saved perhaps tens of thousands of lives in Japan?
Well, I certainly hope we can do that. As I understand it, it would cost about $150 million to have an early warning system. But I do have to point out that even with that system, as you know, the residents in Japan only had a few seconds. And so we certainly need to have that in California. But whether or not we can do it right now, I just don't know, given the budget crisis both in the state and in the nation.
Congresswoman Karen Bass, we share a passion for the state of California. I hope we'll be okay when it happens.
Absolutely.
So we appreciate your help
today. And we've lived through those earthquakes, haven't we?
We have. We hope we don't see too many more of them. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.